that we have today. And I got to reflect, I see Reverend Anthony here and a number of other community activists. I just think about 25 years ago, the Detroit Police Department had the highest rate of officer shootings of civilians of any department in America. There was huge distrust between the community and the department. When I got elected prosecutor in 2000, the very first thing I did was establish an independent prosecutor's review of every police shooting and sent prosecutors to the scene that night. We needed some strong personalities. It was headed up by a fella by the name of Warren Evans. And he got his pick of the most independent, strong-minded prosecutors in the area and picked Dana Nessel and Portia Roberson to be a part of that team. And the DPD was furious with me that I would dare have independent investigations of officer-involved shootings. Mayor Archer brought in the Justice Department. We had a consent agreement. And a generation later, it's a dramatically different department. You had a young lieutenant by the name of James White who was in charge of compliance with the consent agreement. You had a new generation of officers who saw the city differently. And one of those officers was young Todd Bettison, who was part of a generation in his 27 years that changed this department to one that's highly trusted. And throughout his time there, deputy chief, assistant chief, it kept going up. I think he got promoted 4 times since I was here. But when things went bad, it was Todd Bettison went to the community and said, we messed up. Here's what's happening. When things were going well, he was the one that explained what was going on. And in partnership with the unions, who actually pioneered the use of body cams and dash cams in this country when other departments were resisting, we have transformed this department. And there were people who thought that if you are close to the community and work with community advocates, the crime rate's going to go down because you're soft on crime. What the Detroit Police Department, this city, has proven is exactly the opposite, that this trust has resulted in a lot more cooperation. And of course, last year, we had the fewest homicides in this city since 1966. Right? And so after 6 months as James White's first assistant chief, I picked Todd Bettison to be deputy mayor. We had major departments that needed to be watched, and I believed it was possible to do a community violence initiative, to partner with people in the community who would intervene every day before violence occurred. And Todd Bettison says, I want to lead that. I'm going to lead this CVI program. And the results are now attracting national attention. A number of the groups are here, but when you see the results from this next quarter, it will be the best of all. But the shootings and the violence have dropped dramatically faster in our CVI zones. Now, if you're in these meetings aren't all roses. There's some tense conversations. Some by the CVI teams demanding more from the city administration and supporting them, and demands from our side saying, you have a defined boundary, you have to produce. And I'm really proud of the way that we have been able to unify a really strong law enforcement presence from DPD with a really strong prevention presence. We've done it with great independent oversight from the Board of Police Commissioners and active participation from Detroit City Council. And I want to acknowledge the council members who are here. Council President Mary Sheffield is here. Council Member Fred Durhall, Council Member Angela Calloway. Did I see Scott Benson come in? Scott, I could hear Scott Benson. Council Member Scott Benson. But what you have is active oversight from both the Board of Police Commissioners and the City Council in everything we're doing. And so we have a process that we now know very well. And that is that when there's a vacancy, I appoint an interim chief. That's my responsibility. The Board of Police Commissioners is charged by charter to do a search and send me names, which I asked for 3 names to choose from. I select one of those names, and that individual then is reviewed by City Council. Now, I got to say, the Board of Police Commissioners the last time gave me 3 finalists that were outstanding. Of course, I knew Chief White very well. They sent a fellow by the name of Mike Cox, who was the police chief in Ann Arbor. I was so impressed with him, I tried to convince him to come here as the number 2. I wanted both White and Chief Cox. Chief Cox went to Boston, where he's the police chief, where they have dropped homicides there. This process produced the 2 people who for the last couple of years have been the 2 finest police chiefs in America, both sat in my office doing interviews. That's the way the Board of Police Commissioners operated the last time. I expect Interim Chief Bettison to compete in a process against the best in the country, and we will see what comes out of that process. Each one of us has our roles to play, but I think right now what we're going to see is a seamless transition to one of the great sons of the city of Detroit. And I hate to lose him as deputy mayor, but this job is so critical that I'm just so pleased we had somebody ready to step in. And with that, I'm going to introduce my partner in this process, the one who is going to take it from here, the chair of the Board of Police Commissioners, Darrell Woods.